I found it interesting how Bill Gates was tied to the stratospheric aerosol injection program, or whatever it is called now, with the spraying of aluminum or aluminum oxide into the upper atmosphere to reduce the amount of sunlight penetrating through the atmosphere, thereby to lower Earth's temperatures, to feed into this, many are believing, false narrative about global warming in that sense. Like, I'm not even going to comment on it. Bill Gates' association to it is out there. It's hard to deny. That's no conspiracy theory. So here is Dane Wigington and RFK Jr. talking about Dane's findings from the tests he was running on the rain falling from the sky in his area and testing it, coming back with aluminum. And the mathematics weren't lining up with what should have been through his solar panels because of the reduced amount of lux, I'm assuming, coming through based off of the what would otherwise be an amount, like the amount of lux in a normal sunny day, as opposed to one with all of the aluminum oxide in the environment. Look, I mean, to thinking what else is coming, because considering it's really an open secret about using the weather as a weapon, and it's starting to look like they've turned it on the American people to control them even further and brainwash them even more into, well, the Great Reset, perhaps. The Klaus Schwab Great Reset. Now, getting back to Bill Gates, we want to talk about the 750 million mosquitoes that he released into the Florida Everglades a couple years ago. And it has everything to do with, he says, in the open, using it as a means of vaccination. So I started putting, like you, I'm starting to think, and I'm going, well, seeing about all of the reports that are coming out about the thing, that certain vaccination a couple years ago, and all the reports, the journal posts about the hazards in regards to it, and the white blood clots, for example, these self-assembling nanoparticles, fatty lipids, and the embalmers pulling out these meter-long, crazy-looking, alien-looking things from people's hearts and lungs. All of that had Bill Gates all over it as well. Not to mention the level of heavy metals, again, being pumped into you through these things. I never considered myself to be an anti-vaxxer in that sense until I started really reading and putting two to two together. And when you come to realize that they've been overly outwardly talking about the things that, like technology-wise, that they have and the capabilities that they have with weather modification, for example, these other nonsense pushing of ideology, the LGBTQIA, for example, it's been hijacked, gay rights, the complete corruption of the FDA, Big Pharma. I'll just bet, and this is me being sarcastic, that those mosquitoes are meant to do any sort of good. This is a way of weaponizing those mosquitoes. Oh, what else are they going to do? Are they going to leave little kids 10 cents under their pillow? Come on. Considering your track record and what's occurring in the environment, I would be right concerned about any sort of programs that this guy is behind. What in the... Okay, Bill, it's almost... He must have so much money that people, I would think, in that, in line of funding, pretty much pander to him and include him in all of these conversations. And it's got to be ego inflating. Like, in reality, Bill Gates is not a dumb person, right? I can only speculate. I don't know the man at all. But from this side of the tracks, well, it's looking like that he's an extreme eugenist in this sense. If it's not already extreme enough, eugenics. Now, these vaccines that's supposed to protect people against all of these several different diseases. So the release of 750 million genetically modified mosquitoes in Florida in 2020, a project which is backed by the Bill and Melinda Gates Foundation and developed by the biotech firm Oxitec, involved the release of 750 million genetically modified mosquitoes, GMO. GMO everything. Uh-oh. This initiative aimed to combat diseases. Like, it aimed... But what is it really going to be doing? Spreading disease like nobody's business. And they're all probably filled with some sort of nanoparticle that they can monitor on a greater network, and they can watch these things in real time. Oh, shit. Oh, shit. What are we doing? This initiative aimed to combat diseases like dengue fever, Zika, and malaria, which are spread by the Aedes aegypti mosquito. Oh, interesting. However, the release sparked intense public debate and concerns about the environmental, ethical, and safety implications. So I guess the goal was disease control through genetic engineering. This is according to ChatGPT, of course, the paid version. The key objectives of this project was to reduce the population of disease-carrying mosquitoes. Oh, okay. Oxitec's mosquitoes are genetically modified. Isn't that kind of what they're doing to us at the border? Genetically modified. So the Oxitec's mosquitoes are genetically modified to carry a self-limiting gene. Probably were eating some of the wheat. When released into the wild, male genetically modified mosquitoes mate with wild females. Ooh. Passing on a gene that prevents female offspring from surviving to adulthood. Over time, this reduces the population of Aedes aegypti mosquitoes. The rationale behind this? That's compelling. And this is only what they're typing. This is only what they're telling us. So allow your imagination to go, please. And put it in the comments section below. And while you're at it, hit that thumbs up, please. And subscribe. Hit that notification bell if you haven't already. The rationale behind this. The Aedes aegypti mosquitoes make up just a small fraction of the mosquito population, yet they are responsible for spreading serious diseases. Oh, that sounds like discrimination to me. By targeting this species, public health officials hope to reduce disease transmission without using harmful chemicals like pesticides. They'll do that anyway. They do that anyway. This is just an example. These are the pros that you put in there because you have to, right? To sell it. You can only telling it 10% of the truth. The science, how it works. Oxitec's technology hinges on the principle of population suppression through genetic modification. Yeah, in more ways than one, I would expect. Let's see. Oxitec's technology hinges on the principle of population suppression. Is there an echo in here? It is so double entendre, in my opinion. Through genetic modification, only male mosquitoes, which do not bite humans or animals, are released. How do you know they don't bite? Well, because we genetically modified their mouths shut. And they don't have any pricks on their heads. Now let's see. Only male mosquitoes, which do not bite humans or animals, are released. These males carry a gene that, when passed to offspring, prevents female mosquitoes, the ones that bite and spread disease, from surviving. As females die off, man, very, very tragic. As females die off and the population shrinks, the risk of diseases like dengue, Zika, and yellow fever diminishes. Why don't you guys just put them in a re-education camp and tell them not to bite so many people? Let's see. This approach is hailed as an environmentally friendly alternative to insecticides. Fuck, what could possibly go wrong? Oh my God. Oh my God. Which can harm other species and lead to pesticide-resistant mosquitoes. A blunt force pesticide right here, baby. Smack. Let's see. Despite the public health benefits, the release of these genetically modified mosquitoes has raised several ethical and environmental concerns, including one from this guy. You don't even have to be you don't have to be an expert to be against this, friends. One of the biggest concerns is the unknown long-term impact on the ecosystem, like it is every other time. By artificially reducing the mosquito population, critics fear the disruption of food chains. You know, what's going to happen to the bats? All of a sudden, the bats, you're starving the bats out. All these crazy you're feeding the bats genetically modified mosquitoes, which probably don't have the same sort of nutrients. And they're filled with disease. Serve as food for the birds, fish, and other animals. I like the fish the best. I like birds too. The long-term effects of releasing genetically modified organisms into the environment are not fully understood. That's right. We've never been here before. Or maybe we have and we don't know it. Tells you a bit about the outcome. And there's always a risk of unintended ecological consequences, since when the hell has Bill Gates ever given a crap about that before? Or anybody else? While the goal is to reduce the number of disease-carrying mosquitoes, some skeptics worry that the genetically modified mosquitoes themselves could cause unforeseen health issues. Although the technology has been tested in Brazil and other regions, I still can't get that plane out of my head where those doctors who were going to out and link that the things they were going to talk about the thing from the lockdown, the jab, and link it to cancers. Well, somebody didn't like that, and it probably had a lot to do with what we're talking about now, in my opinion, in an indirect way. Well, while the goal was to reduce the number of disease-carrying mosquitoes, some skeptics worry that the GM mosquitoes themselves could cause unforeseen health issues. I would imagine so. Although the technology has been tested in Brazil and other regions, it remains a relatively new approach. Well, trust me. Trust me, they said. There are concerns that new genes introduced into the mosquito population could result in mutations that we cannot yet predict, like double-headed bats, potentially leading to stronger or more resistant mosquitoes like 10-foot mosquitoes, which already exist in the province of Manitoba here in Canada. You ever been up there? Holy mackerel. You can eat them. Now, great source of protein. It's like moose blood. Many local residents and environmental groups raise concerns about transparency and consent. Oh, consent. That must mean something completely different to what I thought it meant. So, critics argue that Florida residents, they'll lie to you and trick you into taking it and give you a little sticker, a little reward saying, I got my shot. Oh, great. Maybe not even a piece of bubblegum. Let's see. Critics argue that Florida residents were not adequately informed or given enough opportunity to voice their opinions before this release. This issue raises a broader question about the role of local communities in deciding whether they want to be part of such a large-scale experiment. So the ethical dilemma centers around whether it's appropriate to manipulate nature in this way. Who's nature? Some opponents argue that releasing genetically modified mosquitoes sets a dangerous precedent for future biological interventions Yeah, it sets a precedent in it's probably already been said a couple times, and we need to ask where the line should be drawn. There are concerns about possible corporate control. This is where Bill comes in, over biotechnology and public health. With private companies like Bill, like Oxitec, driving these efforts, critics question who gets to profit from these ventures and whether public health or corporate interests are the primary motivation. Well, I think the primary motivation with that corporate interest of absolutely, it doesn't have humanity's best intent in mind. Not our humanity. This breakaway state of craziness. Maybe to them, but it's not going to help you and I. So, circling back to RFK and Dane Wigington here, that's where I picked up here. We don't have to rehash this aluminum in the atmosphere too much, other than his mention of the Bill Gates before I show you this next clip.
Followers can watch the world's most recognized geoengineer.
The world's most recognized, hold on here, I got to turn this up. The world's most recognized geoengineer. Who do you think he works for? Mr. Gates.
Dr. David Keith, who works for Mr. Gates, works with Mr. Gates, works for Harvard as well.
It's about the fact, an uncomfortable fact, but it is a fact, that we have the technical ability to do this. They are all fast-acting, they are cheap, and they are fundamentally imperfect. There are problems of how you control something where an individual country can have tremendous leverage over the whole planet's climate, and where there are winners and losers in ways that really could be unpredictable. And I mean, not to frighten you, but I think you can imagine scenarios that lead to war.
And is it mainly...
I'm not muted. Excuse me. Popping over, I'll edit that part out. 3, 2, 1. Now switching over to a post from Telegram. A box of, and these are just some screenshots of different headlines from posts on social media, on the internet. September 21st, 2022, a box of 200 mosquitoes did the vaccinating in this malaria trial. That's not a joke. Max Barnhart. Now, I'll turn it down. So, mosquitoes engineered into flying vaccinators. That's from March 19th, 2010. Emily Singer. Scientists turns mosquitoes into flying vaccinator. That's another one, March 19th, 2010. Washington. Team of Japanese researchers have developed a mosquito that spreads vaccine instead of disease. The new research, led by Associate Professor Shigeto Yoshida from Jichi Medical University in Japan, has revealed that mosquito genetic engineering can turn the transmitter into a natural flying vaccinator, providing a new strategy for biological control over the disease, or you, or people, the public, the naive, the unwitting participants. The study targets the saliva gland of the Anopheles strephinaceae mosquitoes, the main vectors of human malaria. Wait until you hear the rest of the story. Flying vaccinator, a transgenic mosquito, delivers leishmania vaccine via blood feeding. That's in 2010, March 2010. These are all the tests. So here's Gates' notes. Bill Gates posted this video after approval of the release of 750 million GMO mosquitoes in Florida. Oh, it's just a little interesting snippet. Very well done. I wonder if AI made that. Do you think so? Do you think so? Let me know. Oh, the Grim Reaper, and it's all made of mosquitoes. Mosquito Week. It's a little promo video. Only see it on the Gates notes.
Of course, transmitted by mosquitoes. I brought some here so you could experience this. We'll let those roam around the auditorium a little bit. There. There's no reason only poor people should have the experience.
In 1956, during their biological warfare testing, the U.S. military released an undisclosed number of Aedes aegypti mosquitoes into the residential areas of Savannah, Georgia, which many say were infected with the In 1956, during their biological warfare testing, the U.S. military released an undisclosed number of Aedes aegypti mosquitoes into the residential areas of Savannah, Georgia, which many say were infected with the malaria virus. This event was called Operation Big Buzz.
But the U.S. military wanted to keep this research a secret, so they tested it in their own backyard.
One of the things that stands out for me about Operation Big Buzz is that the U.S. tested it on Americans.
Nasty little insects, and certainly, weaponizing them could be something that would be useful to the military.
It's kind of biological warfare before biological warfare.
The very same military is now testing mosquitoes that are genetically modified to deliver vaccinations. A great way to reach the vaccine hesitant, a project funded by the Bill and Melinda Gates Foundation. And let's not forget why the world...
That is a great way to reach the vaccine hesitant. Like you get it in your sleep and you not really even know if you were vaccinated.
The most powerful doctor does what he does.
Hearing you say that you're getting into this because there's more bang for your buck is not inspiring, Bill.
Well, that's too bad. But it's not my goal to be inspiring. The world has limited resources.
So if you're not doing things to be inspiring, what are you doing things for?
Optimization.
Forward with a controversial plan to release genetically modified mosquitoes to help combat the population.
But some residents don't want the mutant mosquitoes and are demanding to know where they will be released. Local 10's Tatsovella reports.
Optimization of population control.
Neighborhoods, the signs are there. They do not want genetically modified mosquitoes.
Originally, I was engaged by the idea.
Mara Daly owns this hair salon. Aside from being part-time business owner, she's a mom and activist.
I do not feel comfortable having my child in the environment where up to 750 million mosquitoes will be released in our environment.
The genetically modified mosquito fight has been going on for 10 years now.
Your fellow citizens are concerned about this.
Many fellow citizens are concerned.
Barry Ray heads the Florida Keys Environmental Coalition, an organization that argues the project lacks independent scientific investigation.
You don't really know what the long-term outcomes could be or what, how to quantify those risk. And if you can't do that scientifically, then you don't know how to responsibly mitigate it or detect if something's going awry.
Is Houston about to use genetically modified mosquitoes to curb the Zika virus?
But Dr. Mustafa Daban with Harris County Public Health says the county is talking to a couple companies about bringing in genetically and bacterially modified mosquitoes to kill off their Zika-carrying brethren.
We're going to use another mosquito against another mosquito.
Dr. Daban says the county is working with Oxitec, which inserts a gene into a specific kind of male mosquito.
Malaria, a medical emergency. The CDC says the cases were hundreds of miles apart, 4 in Florida and 1 in Texas. No evidence to suggest they're related, but what they do have in common is no link to travel abroad. The last time malaria was transmitted locally in the U.S. was 2003. Tonight, the CDC says mosquito surveillance and control have been implemented. Malaria isn't contagious, but the parasite that causes it is transmitted by certain mosquitoes.
Scientists are calling a new vaccine against malaria potentially world-changing. A team at Oxford University has developed a vaccine that could reduce malaria deaths by 70% by the year 2030. Clinical trial results published in The Lancet show it could give up to 80% protection from the disease. Abby Kugadastan is on that story. She's in London for us today. Abby, tell us more about what the Oxford researchers have discovered.
Yeah, there is some great news today that this R21 vaccine could help eradicate malaria. It has shown to offer 80% protection, as you mentioned. That meets the World Health Organization's efficacy standard, and the findings come out of trials conducted in Burkina Faso. It included more than 400 children under the age of 2, and the results show that 3 initial doses with a single booster shot given a year later provides that 80% protection. They did not note any serious side effects.
I wouldn't listen to the CBC. They lie all the time. They've got an agenda.
It's just after sunrise in Fresno, California, and this van circling a residential neighborhood is making a rather unusual delivery. It's hard to see with the naked eye, but flying out of this tube are thousands of mosquitoes, new additions to the community. Linus Upson is running this experiment for Verily, the life sciences corporate cousin of tech powerhouse Google. In total, they're releasing 1 million mosquitoes a week for 20 weeks this summer.
So you are going to release 20 million mosquitoes in the Fresno area. 20 million mosquitoes.
New additions to the community.
20 million mosquitoes in the Fresno area. Are neighbors not concerned about that?
Once people understand if we're successful, we're going to reduce the population. People are usually thrilled.
Hi, I'm Scott O'Neill here in Medellin, Colombia today, and I'm at the world's biggest mosquito factory for the World Mosquito.
So Bill Gates' Colombian mosquito factory is breeding 30 million bacteria-infected mosquitoes per week. It says. It alleges.
Program we're making in here 30 million mosquitoes a week. Come have a look. We're doing it for a very serious reason. Cities like Medellin have suffered from diseases like dengue, Zika, chikungunya for decades, but not anymore. We've been able to bring the solution of Wolbachia mosquitoes to this city. When this bacteria called Wolbachia gets introduced into the mosquito, it stops their ability to transmit dengue. We release mosquitoes that have Wolbachia. Now they go and mate, and Wolbachia gets passed into the wild mosquito population. If we're going to control these diseases in all the tropical cities of the world, it's going to require a lot of mosquitoes. The mosquito life cycle starts with the egg, and in this room, we've got a lot of eggs. Each one of these strips, these tiny black dots, are up to 10,000 mosquito eggs. Across all of these strips, about 1.5 million dried eggs waiting to hatch. In this tray, we've got the newly hatched eggs. They're little larvae, so small you can hardly see them. They're going to sit in here for a few days and eat and get bigger until they look like these ones over here. They're starting to turn into pupae. We're wanting to do the next step of sorting the males from the females. We want to do that so we can manipulate the sex ratio in the cages to be more female than male. The bottom ones along here are the boys, and the ones at the top are the girls. They're bigger. From here, they're going into the adult cages. We have adults that we continuously grow in what we call our brood stock. And then over here, we have the mass-produced mosquitoes getting ready to give us the eggs to go out directly into the field. It's crazy how they sound. You might wonder, what do we feed all these mosquitoes here? Well, I can tell you, we've got the good stuff in here. On the top shelf, literally, we've got the blood. They love it. Once the mosquitoes are grown, they're ready to go out into the field.
Friends, imagine getting a vaccine, not from a doctor, but a mosquito bite. Recent developments in science have led to experiments where mosquitoes are genetically modified to deliver vaccines. Well, it sounds like a futuristic breakthrough. There are serious ethical questions we need to ask. How can people truly give informed consent when they don't even know they're being vaccinated? Could this method be misused? Vaccinating people without their knowledge? Are there unforeseen health risks when using mosquitoes as vaccine carriers? I would say absolutely all three based off of what we're observing in our world around us. That goes for the United States, Canada, Australia, New Zealand, UK, and Western Europe, Scandinavia. Now, well, it may seem innovative. Using mosquitoes to vaccinate people raises concerns about transparency, safety, and individual choice. What do you think? Should science pursue this path? Or are we crossing an ethical line? Let me know in the comments section below what you believe. Thanks for watching, y'all. Make sure you hit the video coming up to see, well, the video we did before this about Bill Gates. He is an interesting individual, like it or not, but I didn't realize he was so villainous, in a sense. Or is he just being vilified? I think it's far beyond that at this point. Good day.